Yeah, hello everyone. I hope I'm clear and everyone can see me. Yeah. Hi. So how many people are watching? There are 25 people watching right now. Hello Venkatesh. So all of those who are watching, leave a hi in the chats below so that I know that you guys are here and are excited to know what we're about to do today. Hi. Yeah. So first, let me know if everything is clear, if I'm audible and everything is visible to everyone as well, right? Perfect. Yeah. Hi, Ritvik. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sanchita. Hi, Jatan. All right. Yeah. So I think we can begin now. Correct. Um, all right. Perfect. Yeah. So, hello everyone. I am Avi Vashish from AccioJob, and today we'll be having a 3-hour workshop on building Airbnb clone, right, using React.js. So we at AccioJob believe in helping people who want to grow and learn, and who especially want to learn about tech, and we help them get placed in a tech career of their choice, right? And you can know more about us by visiting our website acciojob.com. uh, yeah, and this website itself is actually built on a similar technology that we will be making our clone on today, right? So, like I said, we'll be building an Airbnb clone today, and Airbnb is built on React. So, we'll be using the same technology, and that means we can pretty much do everything that we want to, right? Correct. Anyway, so moving on. So even our AccioJob website is built on a similar technology, and as you can see, it is very beautifully made. Correct, and we have a group of mentors who are dedicated to help you learn and grow. All right. So coming back, so today's live will be structured in this manner, right? And before that, let me ask how many of you guys already know about React and have an idea of what we'll be doing today? And moreover, how many of you guys did attend our last workshop? We will be trying to make this session as interactive as possible. So please be active in the comments. Please keep typing. Please let me know how's everyone doing. All right, perfect, perfect. Yeah, so last week we had the introduction to React.js, right? And I took that session where we talked about what React.js is, why should we use it, and yeah, and so on. And today's class will be a step ahead in the sense that we'll be building a full-fledged website using React.js, and I'll be pushing all the code on GitHub so that you guys can have, you guys can see it and you guys can actually see what's happening as well. All right. Pixel899 says he has idea mostly because of the last week. So that's pretty good. I'm glad, right? And all right. So Harshal says that he only knows the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and that's all right, Harshal. We will be, it's okay. This session is not going to be very complicated. We will be showing how you can make complicated things by just making simple, or by just writing simple lines of code. And that's what this session is going to be about, right? Where are we going to host the website? We'll quickly host it on Netlify if you guys want me to show you how to host it. So I think we should add that in our to-do list. And right, so we will host the website on Netlify. And all right. So does everyone know what we're going to do today? Right? There are more people now. So that's a good sign. And yeah, we will be building an Airbnb clone today. Right? Perfect. All right. Exactly. So, like I said, this is the way we are going to structure today's life. It's going to be a 3-hour session where you will be getting all of the code later. In fact, there is a GitHub repository in the description right now, where which you'll be using to get started. It has all the starter files, all the logos included already, the fonts, the logos to get you guys started. Right? Okay. Okay, so this is the structure of our of today's workshop, and we'll be first going through the introduction. I'll be going through the current Airbnb's website, and we'll be seeing what all features they have. Right, we'll be reviewing all the features. We'll be talking about how we are going to implement all of these features, and then we are going to get started with the coding part. Correct? Yes, Ritvik. So Ritvik Raj says, let's start. And I think we should start as well. So everyone in the comments, leave a +1 if you are excited to get started. And we will get started, right? Okay. Yeah. So, all right. This is the Airbnb website that we will be cloning today. And the link that I've gone to is airbnb.co.in. And if you notice that if you just type airbnb.com, it still redirects you to .co.in. And that is basically because obviously this live is coming from India, right? And yeah, I'm glad that there are a lot of plus ones, so a lot of people are excited, right? Okay, so the moment we enter this website, we see that this modal pops up, which basically tells us there's this video that they wanted to show us, and yeah, it's just about their winter release or something. So this is one thing that we will be implementing, right? This will be only a front end workshop today. And like I said, we will be going one step further from yesterday's, not yesterday's, from last week's session. So this will still be kind of an introduction to React, but we will be exploring the depths of React and we'll be moving way ahead as well, right? But that does not mean that you need to get intimidated or scared by the fact that, we will be doing something that you won't understand. I'll try my best to keep everything as simple as possible so that you guys actually start enjoying React and know what, all the things that we can do with React. All right. So, yeah, like I was saying, so as soon as we go on our Airbnb website, this is the first thing that pops up. And this is nothing but it's a modal that pops up, which is about their winter release. Now, this is one of the things that we will be doing, and it is very, very simple to achieve, right? If you guys remember, we last discussed about use effect, and this particular feature will be done implemented or will be implemented using that, right? Can we write code side by side or will it be hard for us? So, Sanchita, you can write code side by side if you want to. I will be keeping a moderate pace. It won't be too fast or it won't be too slow, right? And if you want to, feel free to code side by side. We would love for this to be a coding session as well. And ideally, that is what it's supposed to be. But if you're just a beginner and want to just see how you make websites and want to see the thinking that goes behind making these websites, feel free to just watch as well. Like I said, the GitHub link is already in the description, and that is the repo link where I'll be pushing all of my code. So the code will obviously be available to all of you. All right, perfect. So this is the first feature that we'll be implementing, a modal that pops up, right? Apart from that, we see that there is a really nice header which sticks, right? And this header has their logo. It has this particular you can call it a search bar, right? It has this particular feature, and then it has this profile thing. If we click on it, there's this kind of a menu which opens up, and we will be making this as well, right? And I know this can look a bit tricky to implement at first, but it's not. It's generally not, right? After that, we have this flex of all of these filters that we have, right? And depending on whatever filter we click, our search results get filtered, right? And we can do that as well very easily, right? And yeah, we have this filters column as well. Now this is something that I would like to implement when we have the time, because this is nothing but this is just an input form, right? And it is fairly simple to implement. All right, since we'll be implementing our modal, our sign-up modal, which pops up as soon as we go on the screen. Uh, hmm, for some reason it is not popping up. Give me a second. Yeah, since we will be I'll be showing you how to make this modal. So I think the filter form should not be that tough of a deal, right? Okay. Do we cover writing test case? Uh, I have. Please be elaborate so that I can explain. But yeah, okay. Anyway, then we come to the cards, and this is the main thing that we will be implementing. We will be implementing these cards using a thing called Swiper.js. It's a React library, and it's not a React library, it's actually a JS library, right? And it's a very beautiful what do you say, package or library which we will be using, and it allows us to make such beautiful carousels, right? You can use any carousel that you want to, but Swiper.js is something that I personally really enjoy working with, right? It is one of the most cleanest, and it has a really clean implementation as well. All right, so we'll be making this card and then we'll be mapping all of it. So I don't think so. The to-do list for today is that complicated. I tried to keep this session as small and as simple as I could. Right. I do not want to overcomplicate things for you. That is why we might not be implementing a lot of things in depth, but we will try to keep it really simple and really clean. And yet we will be kind of making the Airbnb clone. Right. Now, something that we will also be doing is we will also be making this entire website responsive. So that means we need to take care about how it looks when we go switch to our mobile view. So as you can see, there's not much of a difference from the larger desktop screens to the iPad view, right? The iPad view is nothing but it is basically the same thing. There's not, again, not big of a difference, right? But as soon as we switch to our mobile view, this is what we see. So there is a little change in our mobile view. So now this, obviously this is still almost the same, right? We still have our filter component like this. Again, we will not be implementing this filters modal, but yeah, anyway, right? So we still have the same things, but something that you notice is this bottom nav bar, right? And this is also something that we will be implementing today using MUI, right? So if you guys are not aware, MUI is this React UI tool, and it has a lot of components. It is mostly used to get components, right? And it is something that almost every React developer uses and is aware of. This is a very, very popular UI toolkit, basically. And over here, there's this thing called app bar, and app bar is the top bar. There's this bottom navigation. Yes. So as you can see, this is exactly the same navigation that we want to implement in our Airbnb. So we'll be doing that as well, right? We can still make this component using Scratch, but I think it'll be better if we implement it like this. Correct? Okay. So I think that clears a lot of the things that we want to achieve today, right? So we have already gone through with our introduction, we have gone through with our walkthrough, and we have now reviewed all of the features that we'll be building today. Correct? So that means it's time that we start cloning and we start coding now, right? Uh, Somebody asked that, is there any prerequisite for this? And yes, there is, but do not worry if you do not fall into those, if you do not have those prerequisites with you, right? The prerequisite is obviously going to be React.js and HTML, CSS. That's the only three things that you will be needing. Otherwise, I'll be sharing everything with you and discussing everything properly, right? And so can we understand through system design point of view? All right. So basically, Tejas, for those of you who do not know what system design point of view is, so I'll actually give you the exact meaning. React, yes. Right. Okay. So it is basically, to be honest, it's just how are we going to design the entire website in a really simple layman language, right? And so what Tejas wants to know is how are we actually, or how did I, end up choosing what I'll be choosing to design this entire thing, right, Tejas? So that is something that is a process that I will be actually going through with you guys, right? And for that particular reason itself, I have also made this Figma, and this Figma is nothing but it has screenshots of the Airbnb website, right? So all of the things again that we will be making. So yeah, it is a process that we will be going by ourselves, right? There will be certain things that we would want to implement using different React libraries and different components, and there will be certain things that we would want to just code by ourselves from scratch, right? Modal is one of the biggest examples for that. We will be coding a modal in scratch. We will not be using any modal libraries, right? And okay, all right. So I think we can get started now, correct? So all of those who are excited to get started, all you have to do to get started is you go to the starter files present in the YouTube link, right? And that basically contains the GitHub repository, and it has all of the starter files that you need, right? So in fact, I'll quickly go to GitHub and yeah. So this is the repository that I have shared with you guys. And what this repository has is nothing but it has certain public files and SRC files. Right? If you go to your source, you'll see that I've already taken the pain to add all of the assets needed, correct? And yeah, so it has a lot of things. Firstly, it has the logo that you guys need for the two Airbnb logos. So the only two logos that we need are this one and this one. Basically the fav icon one, as you can see, the fav icon one is a singular logo, and this one is basically it has a fav icon and then it has Airbnb next to it, right? So these are two assets that I have already added for you guys. So one is this logo and the other is this logo. Both of them are transparent PNGs, so you do not need to worry about uh, styling them or how they're going to look because they're transparent. Anyway, I've also added a few hotel images, right, that we can use if you want to, and so feel free to use these if you want to. I've also added the font. This is the actual font that Airbnb has, right? And Airbnb actually released their font, I think it was 2 3 years ago, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, so Airbnb actually released their new typeface called Airbnb Serial, and this is the font that they use, right? But this is a font which is very, very similar. They released this in 2018. Okay. Yeah, but this is a font which is very, very similar to a simple Google font, and which is this, right? It's called Nunito Sans, and this is also very, very similar. So hence, basically, if you ever want to include this font, you can. But today we'll be going with our Nunito Sans font because that is again very simple to implement. And I've also added this import line in your files as well. And so right from the beginning, you will be using this font, right? So I've already taken the pain and gone ahead with all of this. I have these links that I've made, right? And these links are nothing but these are the image links for this thing, right? So we have the images. These are all icons, and all of these icons are images. So I've also added these in the starter files, correct? So again, I have tried my best to include everything that I can. Most of these icons are included so that we can quickly just get started. Okay, so now to get started, all you have to do is you have to clone this repository, and then you will be at the same page as I am, and you'll also have the same React file, right? So after going in, all we have to do is just run npm run start, and this will start our React server, and our React, yeah, this will start a React server, and our project will be up and running. All right. So Ashish has a doubt, and he asks line number 6 in CSS. So I'm assuming that means you want me to kind of explain what this line is. This line is nothing but it is something that React includes in itself, and it is just for font smoothing. So if you want to actually go and read about it, you can just Google font smoothings in CSS. And W3 Schools is the best source to rely on. You can also rely on developer .mozilla. Anyway, so yeah, it just basically this is something that you will not really notice a lot, but again, without font smoothing, this is how your font looks. With font smoothing, this is how your font will look. So it's a little tiny change, and but it is just to make sure that your font is actually shown in the correct way, right, in a smooth way. All right. First run npm install. Correct, Ritvik. So since I already made this, deployed this, or initialized this project in my particular desktop, I don't have to run this. But first, you will be having to run this npm install command. And what this will do is this will install all of your node modules because that is something that you guys will not be having, right? So feel free to run npm install, and once that is done, then you can start npm run start. Correct. So we will be getting certificates for this session, and to get those certificates, you will have to wait till 5:30, and it is then that we'll be releasing the form for the certificates, and then we'll be distributing the forms accordingly. Right. So you will be getting a certificate for this, and since this is what do you say? This is a workshop, and we will be building our Airbnb clone. Right. Perfect. So, all right. So, all of those of you who want to get started, quickly clone the repository and run npm start, and then you will be on the same page as I am, and we can start coding then. Correct. Something that I've also done is I've already added our fav icon, and I've already changed the title. So this is the same title that Airbnb has, right? So your website already looks pretty much the same. If I'm viewing these two in the tabs, they look identical. Correct. So that's the first part of our clone, that which I've done already. Perfect. All right, so let's begin now. So first things first, like I said, we will be coding our header, correct? And before I get started on coding the header, I would like to explain the folder structure that we will be maintaining today. And that folder structure is very simple, right? We will be having a folder called components, right? And we will be building all of our components in this particular folder, right? So let's say now we want to build our header. So I will actually be building our header inside another folder, and I'll be calling it the header. If I want to build more components, let's say the footer, I'll be building it like this, right? So now my code is going to be modular and organized, and this is the folder structure that I usually start with, right? Sri Lakshmi, the link for that is in the description. Uh, there's a GitHub link, and you can clone that repo, right? Anyway, all right. So this is the folder structure that we will be going with, and yeah. So over here we'll be having an index.js file and a styles.css file, right? And the reason for that is very simple. So index.js is the first file that goes, right? That runs in anything. So if you remember making pure HTML CSS projects, the first website that we used to, the first page that we used to have was the index.html page. So similarly, the reason for that is index is the first file that runs, correct? In a very simple way. So thus, um, our header also has this index, so that this is the first thing that runs, and so on, correct? So this is the folder structure that we will be going with, and yeah, so I think we can get started, right? Okay. So over here, I'm going to say import styles.css, and that is going to link my style sheet. And over here, let me just say class name, and I'll say navbar. All right, and okay. So I'm already exporting this. So inside my app.js, I'm going to have my header as the first thing that I show. I'll be importing it as well, right? So once I import my header, I can already see that my header is here, right? And this is perfect. Okay. So now to build our header, what we see is that, hey, are you using two desktops? Yes, I am, Anuj, because I have the YouTube live running on both the desktops, right? So I do know that nothing is going wrong so far. Okay. Yes, Ankit, I'll be starting now. All right. So the way we are going to structure this header is basically it is a flex box, and everything is spaced between. So we have something on the left, we have something in the middle, and then we have something on the far side of our page, right? So okay, so as we can see right off the bat that this is a very simple flex box, and that is how we'll be making it. Okay. So over here, instead of this, now what we're going to do is I'm going to import the logo firstly. So I'm going to say import um, logo from, and then I'm going to include that file. So I'll go to my assets. I'll go to my logo, and then I'm going to go to my, I think it is called um, long logo. Yeah. So long dash logo dot png. Correct. So then I'm going to have my image tag over here. I'm going to have src, and inside my src, I'm going to pass this. My alt will be logo. Correct. And with this, I should be able to see my Airbnb logo. And as you can see, I can see that, but it is way too long. So we will be styling it as well. Right. Okay. So now I know that my navbar is nothing but it is a display flex. Right. We're going to give it a padding of, let's say, 1 rem and 1.5 rem. So 1 rem is going to be the top, 1.5 rem is going to be the right and left padding. And I think 0.5 rem will be good. Right, before that, I'm going to give it a justify content of space between align items as center. All right, so okay, we all obviously see no change, and that is because our logo is still really large. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say dot navbar logo, and I'm going to give it a height. And let's say I give it a height of 1 rem, and let's see how that looks. So 1 rem is really, really small. So I think 3 rem should be good, right? And 3 rem is too large. So 2 rem would be the perfect one. All right. So 2 rem already looks good. And something that we see is that we might have to give it more of a padding. So I think let's keep it 1 rem and 3 rem. Right. And this is better. Correct. Okay. So we have the initial starting of our logo already, of our header, sorry. Now what we need to build is we need to build this component and this component, right? So as you can see, these two components are nothing but these are also different respective flexes that we have, and we can quite easily build these, right? So all we have to do is write a div class name, and I can make this class name as yeah, let me name this as the search dash bar, right? And yeah, and I'll be having another div, and that div is I'll be calling this as the let's say profile bar, yeah, or profile container, right? So these are the three divs, and these will be in space between, right? Something that I will be doing with my header is also the fact that I will be giving it a position of sticky so that it sticks, and top will be 0, right? um yeah, I think this should be good enough for now, and let's see. Okay, coming back, so now we have a search bar. So as you can see, our search bar is nothing but it is again a flex, and it has four things, right? It has the anywhere text, then it has a vertical line, it has an any week, then a vertical line, and then an add guests, right? uh sure, Ankit, I will be right. Okay. So then it has an add guests, and after that it has a search icon, and this search icon is something that we'll be getting from MUI. But yeah, so this is what we'll be building now. So again, this is nothing but this is a div flex, and all right, something which is very simple to achieve again. So my search bar will be a flex. So display flex. Again, I'm going to give it a justify content of this time. I'm going to give it a justify content of flex start, and align items will still be centered. And the gap will, I think, let's keep 0.5 rem. All right. Something that I'll be doing is I'll give it a padding as well. 0.5 rem is good, and I'll be giving it a border as well. So border solid, and I think hashtag 333. Okay. So, all right, so 333 is way too dark. And so something that I personally use to make pixel perfect code is I use color droppers, or we can actually quite literally click on this div and see what border they're using, right? And I think we should be able to see the exact color that these people are using. So let me just select this entire div, and we should be able to see the border that they have used, correct? So, all right. So the border that they have used is this particular variable, and they're using a color, right? So hashtag DDD is the color that they've used. So something that we should also be doing is that we should be making our root variables. All right. So how many of you guys are aware of what root variables are? Okay, so there are a few doubts, and first thing is somebody asked which ID am I using, and I was using VS Code. And thank you so much, Tejas, for replying to Supriyo promptly. We have, Corona has asked why REM and not EM or PX. So REM is basically a unit that is the full form of REM is relative EM, and it is something that adjusts according to your pixel density of your screen, right? So this is something that you should use and not use pixels or em. Feel free to use those as well, but rem is just a unit that I like to use. So 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels. All right, that is why giving a padding of zero point 0.5 rem or giving a padding of 1 rem is good enough for me, because again 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels ideally speaking. Right. Then Sri Lakshmi has asked, is it based on Java, HTML, CSS? What is based on Java, HTML, CSS? Right. Both the Airbnb that we are cloning and our clone will be made on React. So we are actually using the same technology. Right. All right. So perfect. I really like the fact that you guys keep these interactions or these sessions pretty interactive, and that is something that I really appreciate. So thank you everyone for doing that. And something that I would also, yes, as I was asking, how many of you guys are aware of what root variables are in CSS? Right, let's see. So I am expecting you guys to keep the comments obviously active. So how many of you guys are aware of root variables? So right way says me, that's good. So only one person out of 60 people which are watching. Uh, guys, okay. Don't know, sir. That's all right. That's all right. But I just expect you guys to, yes. I just expect you guys to be honest and let me know if you guys know about something or you don't, because I am obviously here to help you guys with that. And it's not just me, entire, yeah, all of us, basically. The entire AccioJob team is here for you to ask doubts so that we take care of them. Right, and correct. So right way is saying the right thing, and they're saying that it helps us to make the code clean and stop repetition. Exactly. So basically in every index.css what we can do is we can make these variables, right? I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of what variables are, correct? Variables are nothing but we make certain values that we want to keep on repeating, right? So now I know for a fact that this was the gray that I was using, correct? And I can even have black over here. Okay. So now what exactly? Okay. So this helps with code repetition, right? This helps in reducing code repetition, my bad. So basically now what we've done is I've made these variables. One is black, one is gray, and one is white. So now wherever I want to, let's say if I want to say background color is equal to VAR black, right? So my entire screen is going to become black. Notice how my entire screen has become black now, right? And that is not because, and that is the same as me saying background color is equal to hashtag 000, right? The only reason why I'm not going to say hashtag 000 and I'm going to say we are black is because let's say I'll be using this color black everywhere, right? And what if I want to change it? Instead of saying hashtag 000, what if I want to make it 333? Correct. What if I want to make it a slight gray instead of coding it? So then I will. It traditionally what used to happen was I would have to go and say, I would have to search this variable, then I would have to replace it with hashtag 333 to change my code everywhere, right? But now all I'm doing is I'm making this variable so I can just update this variable value and see it change, right? And that is basically the use of root variables. We basically make these variables so that we don't keep on repeating the same hashtag or the same RGB values. And because in the future we do not know what the future holds for us, we might have to change it, we might have to update it, or we might have to completely get rid of that color, right? So hence there's no point in going and searching the entire code base for hashtag 000, then changing it or then deleting it. We can just do it from here, and that is the whole point, right? Anyway, using SCSS but never knew it, introduced in CSS2. Exactly, right? And somebody asked, I want to know, is there a Moon Stack course in Accio? But no, AccioJob offers a full stack development course, right? So that covers pretty much the entire Moon Stack. All right. Anyway, coming back. So now what we'll be doing is we will be building our search bar, right? So now we already know what the color of this border is. So we just have to say var dash dash gray, and that particular color is going to get embedded here. Yeah. All right. So now we will be giving it a border radius and we will be writing the text inside it as well. Okay. So the text inside it is pretty simple. Instead of actually making p tags, I'll be making divs for the text, and I'll explain as to why in a minute, right? So I think the first text is anywhere, the next is any week, and add guests, right? So anywhere, next will be any week, and the last is add guests. Right. And after that, we also have our search bar. So firstly, this is how our text is looking right now. And as you can see, it is not the best, right? So we will be changing that. Do not worry about it. And okay. So something that we need to do is I'll be having a class name for this. I'm going to give this the class name of search dash bar dash text, right? And I'm going to give this and this the same value. Over here I'm going to have the same thing, and now I'm going to say font size of let's say 0.8 rem, right? And then I'm going to say a font weight of, I think let's do 500 and see how that looks. As soon as I do that, as you can see, this is pretty much almost there. I think the font weight of 600 will do justice. And yeah, so as soon as I made my font weight 600, it is almost there, right? Maybe if I increase it a little more, let's see. 800 is too much. I'm pretty sure there is no 700. But yeah, okay, even this is fine. Well, let's keep it this. All right, so anywhere, any week, and add guests. So now what we'll be doing is I will also be giving this border right, and yeah, I'll be giving this a border right, and I'm going to give it a border right of solid VR gray, and let's see how that looks. And this is how that looks. Again, not the best. So the way we'll be styling this is by giving it adding right, and I'm going to say 0.5 them. Right. And now something that we also want to do is I want to change the styling of this. So the way we do that is by making another, we don't use the same class, we'll be using this class for this. And now I'm going to say dot search bar text2, and over here we are going to basically have the same thing. The only change will be the font color. So I'm going to have a font color of, let's do VR gray for that as well. Right. Okay. So VAR gray is not visible properly, and that is probably because this is a shade which is darker than VAR gray. So again, we'll quickly inspect it and look at what particular variable value is this, and it is hashtag 77717171. All right. So now I'll go back to my index.js. I'm going to make a font gray, and this is basically the gray that they're using for the fonts. Hence, you'll be using this as well. Right, and now in my styles of css I'm going to say, instead of giving this a color of gray, I'm going to say hashtag font gray. And notice how that makes our job way easier already. Right, so now this is still looking a bit similar. Right, now what we have to do is, I think I will increase the size a little bit, and I am going to give this entire thing a border radius of 2 rem or 3 rem. We'll see. Right, and yeah, so 3 rem is good enough. I need to give it a more padding, and I will quickly do that. So let's say instead of giving it a padding of 0.5, we'll give it a padding of 1 rem and 1.5 rem on the sides, or let's do 2 rem. Right, let's see. Yeah, so this is let's keep it 0.5 rem. Yeah, 0.75, and let's do 1. That'll be perfect. All right. So notice how CSS is just about yeah, notice how CSS is just about hit and trial. It's not that I don't know, it's not like I know these values and these are some certain values that I've learned by heart or something. These are all values that you also have to kind of hit and try and see how it's working, right? And for me, these are the values which are working the best, and hence I'll be using these values. But again, you guys can pick your own values. If you don't like these values, change them. If somebody is suggesting that why don't I use fonts in pixels, and that is because I'm comfortable with rem, and like I explained, rem has a lot of benefits, right? But yeah, if you want to go about using these fonts or font sizes in pixels, go ahead, right? It is up to you. You are the developer, feel free to do whatever you want to. Anyway, something that Airbnb has also added is the fact that they've added this little box shadow. So now, if you want to get the exact box shadow, how do we do that? Is again by inspecting the element, and you'll be noticing that I inspect element a lot, and that is because I want to give you the best result, right? So we go inside this div, and we need to find the box shadow now. All right. So I think this we did see a box shadow somewhere. Hmm. That is strange, but okay. I think the box shadow will be here, if not here. Um, hmm. There's a box sizing. Let's see here. So this is the box shadow variable that they have, and we can quite literally copy the same shadow and put it in our search bar as well. Right? Again, all of this code will be pushed, but now something that you'll notice is that our search bar also has the um same box shadow. Yeah, okay. Coming back. So now we will be making this we will be making this particular um, search button. And something that I also want to see is, give me a second. Hmm. They are actually changing the box shadow on hovering a little bit. So we should do that as well. Right, okay. So for those of you who do not know how to add or change certain styling on hover, so this is how you do it. You say dot search bar and then colon hover, and then you add the hover, right? So I'm going to take this shadow itself, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little, um, yeah, a little darker, if not a lot darker. And I'm going to also add a transition all of 0.2 seconds. Right. And there is a electricity issue at my place, but I hope there is nothing wrong with my screen, right? Anyway, all right. So now if we go here and if I hover on my code, as you can see, there is a slight change in the hover, and that is also something that which is working now. Right, I have given this transition property and I'm saying transition all 0.2 seconds. And what that means is it's basically going to change the box shadow in 0.2 seconds, right? Or any other thing that I change. I think we can make it a little darker and that would be fine as well. And yeah, so this is a lot better, right? Okay. So now what we'll be doing is we'll be adding our icons using MUI, correct? And yeah, okay. So, all right. Any doubts till now? Any doubts in the styling? We are almost at the 1 hour mark of our workshop, and that's pretty cool. And something that I do also realize is that we need to quickly move forward and we need to be catch up on a lot of things, right? All right. So, selection. So, okay. So we will not be doing that right now. I'm more worried about doing all of these things, right? But you can do that using use states, and I will be showing you how to do that, right? I'll be showing that using over here. Whenever we'll be selecting something, I will be selecting that particular component. All right. Anyway, moving on. So, okay, so now we'll be adding MUI into our website quickly. And yeah, so to basically add MUI, all you have to do is just go over here and copy this particular command, and then you just have to run this command, and that is going to install all the things that you need for MUI, right? And something that you also need while using MUI icons is that we need to add one more thing, and we need to add this particular package, right? So, or we can just run this particular command, right? So you can copy this command and run this as well. It's the same thing. The only extra thing that it's going to add is this particular NUI icons material, right? Notice how we just had NUI material, right? So we have one more command, which is this. And this is what takes care of our icons. Anyway, so now as you can see, there are a lot of icons that I can select, right? I can go to my search and I can just Google search icon and then I can pick whatever search icon I want to. I'll obviously be going with our standard one, right? Yeah, there are outlined, rounded, right? A lot of different ways, different icons, but yeah. So then all you have to do is you just have to click on the icon and you have to click on this particular line and it's going to copy the code. Now I'll be going to my header and I'll just be pasting this import over here and I will just have my icon like this. And this line itself is good enough for me to now work with my icon. Right. All right. So now if I go to my Airbnb clone, you can see that I already have my icon over here. And now all I have to do is I can wrap this in a div and so that we can style it properly. So I'm going to say div class name search icon div, right? And I'm going to make this div as well. I'm going to put this icon inside that div and now I'm going to style this. So now all I need to do is I just need to say dot search icon div. I'm going to say a display of flex. I don't need to, but just to make this aligned, justify content center, align item center, background color will be red, and that is this Airbnb color that we'll be using, right? So again, inspect element quickly to get the hash or the hex code of that, and yeah, right. So this is the exact value of the Airbnb variable, right? So I'm going to make this, and I'm going to say theme, and this is another variable that we have added. So now if I ever want to use this color, which we will be using a lot, right? I'm just going to say var theme and it's going to get me my theme color. Right, so if I go to my search bar now, this is how it looks. So as you can see, we need to make this rounded, we need to add the color white, and we will be done with it. Right, and yeah, okay. So padding, I think we can give a little padding of 0.5 rem. That might be a lot, so maybe 0.15 or 25. Let's go with 25. I'm going to give it a border radius as well, and I'm going to say 50% to make it an entire circle. Right, so this is a circle, and as you can see, this is pretty fine. Uh, let's see if we just add a color property over here, if that changes our color. And as you can see, it does. All right, so even our search icon is done. Right, something that I do want to do is the fact that, all right, I think our search bar needs a lesser padding on the top. It needs to be a little narrower. Uh, yeah, and this is fine. Hmm. It's not exactly the same. Maybe if we make it zero point 0.4 or zero point 0.3, yeah, zero point 0.3, 0.35 will be fine. Anyway, so now this is pretty much the same thing now. All right. So something that I would suggest you guys do is also the fact that if you want to use these SVGs, you can just inspect a limit and get those SVGs. But if you don't, then that's okay. Sir, can you please explain MUI installation and how it is working? All right. So to basically install MUI, all you have to run is this particular command, and this command is given in their documentation. Right. I'm sorry. So basically, you have to run this npmi or npm install @MUI icons material, MUI material, emotion styled, and emotion react. These are all the four different libraries that MUI relies on. And after installing this, you don't need to install anything else, right? If you don't specifically want to use icons, you can just copy this line and just paste it, and you're good to go. All right, Shiva. Right. And to then include the icons, all you have to do is you just have to import those icons from the respective library. Right. So again, the simple way to do that is go to the search box, just search for material icons, and it will take you here. And now over here, you can select whatever icon you want to. As soon as you click on that icon, it's going to give you this import link, and you can just add this import link and you'll be all set. Correct. And right. So we have also kind of added this header, and now what we need to do is we need to add this particular column, right? And again, this is also something that which is very simple to do. All that this is a flex box. Inside this flex box we have three divs. One is the Airbnb or home div, the other is the globe icon, and the third is the filter, not the filter, the profile div. Right, okay. So I'll be making this div first, and over here I'm going to say class name. Um, let's call it Airbnb your home, right? And I'm going to write the same thing here, Airbnb your home. Then we have the globe icon, so I'm just going to say globe. And like you can probably imagine, this globe div is also us the same thing that we'll be doing over here. I'm just going to search globe. This is the globe, and I'm going to import this, do this, right? And then we have the profile. All right. Okay. So I think we can move forward now, right? These are nothings. This is nothing but again just simple divs that we are adding quickly, right? Perfect. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to firstly style this properly, because if we go to our page, this is how it looks, and this is not how we want it to look, right? So I'm going to say dot profile container. I'm going to make this as a display flex. I'm going to say justify content. Let's do flex end this time, and I'll still give this a gap of 0.5 rem, and align items of center. And I think we are good. All right, something that I will also do is maybe give it a gap of 0.75 rem. That will be a little more. And yeah, for some reason our text is not centrally aligned. All right, we'll take care of that. Okay, now what we'll be doing is on the hover of this, basically I want to give it an animation. So for that we'll be saying 0.25 rem, uh, 1 rem, or zero point 0.5 rem, 1 rem. And okay, so basically what we want to do is on hovering on this, I want this particular animation, and it is again a quick animation where we are just giving it a background color, right? There's not even a transition there. So that is all that we want to do. I'm going to give this a font weight of 500, again 600. And I'm also going to give this yeah, so dot Airbnb or home, I'm going to give it a hover. And on hovering of this, all I want to do is I want to give it a background color of VR gray, right? And something that I'll do is I'll give it a border radius of 3 rem already. Okay, so if I hover on it, this is how it looks, and this is not how it should look. This is how it should look, right? Something that we realize is also the fact that our color is again not the right one. So let's quickly fix that. Hmm. All right. So on the hover, they haven't added the color like this. Okay, so we will be using a color dropper quickly. And so if you guys are not aware, there are multiple ways to do that as well. So first thing is I can obviously take a screenshot, go to my Figma, put this screen on my Figma, and I can just use a color dropper over here, right? So I can just go ahead, make a box, and I can give this box the same color as this, and this is F7, F7, F7. All right. The hex code that they are using is F7, 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 and I am not sure if we'll be using it again or not, but I think I can make a variable called light dash gray and give it this particular color. Now if I go, this is the animation that we get, and this is exactly what we needed, right? It's pretty clean. I'll make the cursor pointer just so that it's better. And yeah, so we have this as well. And I will be doing the same thing with this globe icon. So let's see if we can use the same styling class for that, and we should be good. That's another do that. This is what I get. Not exactly what we want, but all right. Okay. Hmm. This is still fine. All right. So this is what we get now. And as you can see, so we are done with this part as well. Something that I think we should do is that we should decrease the font size for both the things. Right. So I'm going to decrease the font size as well. I'm going to say zero point 0.8 rem for both, and it should decrease the size of my font. Zero point 0.9. And if you want to decrease the font size of this, it's very simple to do. All you have to do is just pass an SX tag or a style tab, whatever you want to, or give it a class name as well, whatever works. I'm just going to quickly instyle this and make this zero point 0.9 rem myself. Right, so zero point 0.9 rem is way too small, so maybe 1.5 rem. Yeah, or 1.2 rem. Okay, so this is not exactly the smallest size that it can go to, but yeah. Now, for some reason, I don't know if it's just me, but these two things do not look aligned, and that is probably because of the padding or something like that. But hmm, or it's maybe just me that this globe does not look like it's aligned, right? If I give this a display of flex, I want to see something, and if I satisfy content, all right, then it's just probably me. Okay. Anyway, yes, Shiva, what part exactly do you want me to repeat? So we have hit the 1 hour mark, and so let's actually go and discuss. And like I said, we'll be keeping this session interactive. So yes, go ahead and tell me, Shiva, what do you want me to repeat, or if anyone has any doubts in this so far, because the next thing that we'll be implementing is going to be pretty interesting, because we'll be implementing the profile clicking thing. Right. So, any doubts, anyone so far? Ideally, this is all just simple HTML, CSS code that we've written in our JavaScript, but or in our React. But yeah, okay. Yes, you will be getting the final code for reference, and that code is going to be on the same GitHub link. So you can just visit this GitHub link after the this tutorial to get the reference. All right. So now we will be implementing this particular feature. And as you can see, this is a pretty nice feature to have. And this is an implementation that we will be doing from pure HTML, CSS, right? And again, it's something that which is pretty easy to do. And okay, so there's actually an MUI library for this as well. And I think it's called menu, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So we can have this as well. And if you guys want to, I can show you how to use this menu. It's something that which is again very, very simple to do. Correct. And yeah. So Tejas, I think you have to do npm I before you do npm run start, and that will solve your issue. Right. Okay. So what do you guys are in vote for? Should we use an MUI component to implement that, to implement this? Or do you guys want to use a pure HTML, CSS, right? So I can say when you're using HTML, CSS. this. Right. So there are two ways with which we can do it. We can use a pure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript method, and this method. I am down to do both, and yeah, and both are very very simple. Honestly, very simple. And all we have to do is just that we just have to kind of, we can copy this code as it is as well, and it's still going to work, right? But yeah, so I think let's go ahead with our React menu. Let's do that first, and then we can do this later if you want to. But yeah, let's go ahead with our React component. All right. So since I am assuming this is your, some of you guys is this is one of your, what do you say, first times using MUI. So I'll explain what you basically have to do. So on your left, you have all of these components, and you can basically use these components however you want to in your code. And what they do is they give you examples, right? In this current example, what we see is as soon as I click on this button, we get to see this particular thing, and that is nothing but it is a menu, right? And this is that menu. And in theory, this is also this is just a React component that they've built, right? There's this React component called basic menu which they've built, and if I just copy this code, let's see what happens if I just do that, right? So I'm going to go over here in my, inside my header, I'm going to make another file, and I'm going to call this file menu. Yes, right. I'll just paste the exact same code, and now all I have to do is basically just go to my index.css, and over here I can just include this component. Right, so basically I made a new component and I made it in the same folder, and I imported it like this. I said import basic menu from profile menu. Profile menu is the file name and basic menu is the function's name. Right. So now if I go to my Airbnb clone, you'll see that I already have this button, and on clicking of it, I do get this modal. Not this modal, but this pop-up. And that is again what I wanted to do. Now my job is to just style this according to my need. Right. And like I said, that is also something which is very simple to do. Right. Instead of having this button, what we're going to do is I'm going to have um, a div, and I'm not so sure if this might work on the div, but let's see. Over here, I'm going to have the div, and over here, I'm just going to say, let's say profile, right? And I'm going to copy all of these things, and I'm going to paste this code now, right? So now if I click on this profile, ideally, my pop-up should come, and as you can see, it does, right? So again, the code is working exactly the way it should, and nothing went wrong. So now since this is a basic div, I can obviously style this according to the way I want to, correct? And that is also pretty simple. All I need to do is over here, there is two icons. One is the hamburger icon and the other is the profile icon. And I'll be getting both these icons using MUI. So one is the burger icon, right? So I can just go and get the menu icon. Or it's not this, it's actually this menu icon rounded. I'm going to get that from here. And I'm also going to get the profile icon. So the user icon might not be the same. Let's see if we can get this image itself. Okay, so it is an SVG. We can still copy this SVG, but all right, let's just get it as a logo. So I believe this is the most similar, right? So we can just copy this and I can just have this. So now all I need to do is give this a class name. So I'm going to give this a class name of profile flex, profile menu flex, and I'm going to import styles. So I'm going to say import /styles.css, And over here, I'm going to go to my code. I'm going to say dot profile menu flex. Display will be flex. Justify content flex start. Align item center. Gap will be 0.5 rem or 0.25 rem. And now all I have to do is just include both of these inside my this thing, right? And I'll also give a color of gray to these. Why flex start? So basically, you started from the start, right? Even if you don't give it this, it's not going to cause big of an issue. But yeah, or I think you're right. It should be space between, right? And I'm also going to give it a border of, let's say, 1.5 pixels solid, and we are gray. But apparently, gray is not looking good. So font dash gray. Yeah, this is it. And this looks. This obviously does not look good at all. But yeah, I'll give this a padding of 0.5 rem again and border radius of 2 rem, and that should be good now. Yes, so we do have this. And this is again very similar to this. Something that I will do is I'll give it a border of gray itself. Right. I completely trust any learning platform, but today fraud related to application is increasing and it's very tough to believe anyone. You can always trust AccioJob. Don't worry about that. There are a lot of AccioJob students in this live currently, and they are having a good time. Right. What is an SVG? So just like we have a PNG, we have JPEG. SVG is also an extension of images, not images, but vectors ideally, and that is just an extension. And the good thing about SVGs is they do not pixelate. So if you want to learn more about SVGs, you can obviously Google. The full form of SVG, I think, is scalar vector graphics. And what that means is you can scale that graphics and it's not going to get pixelated. It's the full form. So it's yeah, scalable vector graphics, and it is a web-friendly vector file format, like I said. And it's exactly what I said, right? It's not pixel related. It does not get pixelated like other files like JPEGs or PNGs, right? And it basically always remains in the best possible way. Yeah. Okay. Now moving on. So now we have already added this, right? Now if we go to this code, we see that we have our menu, and inside this menu we have these menu items. And again, these menu items are nothing but these are simple menu items that we can obviously click, right? Similarly over here also, if we click on this, we have these, and again, this and this are very similar things. Now we just have to style this accordingly. So now how do we do that? So if you guys didn't know, MUI components take this SX property, and this SX property is the same as the styling property, right? And I can basically give my border radius using this. So I can just say border radius, and I can give it 1 rem, I think. And this should give it a border radius of 1 rem. Let's see. So it does or it doesn't. We will have to see by increasing the border radius size. All right, so it really did not do much. Okay, so there are different ways of styling MUI components, and the good thing about MUI components is that you can obviously Google, since it's a very easily publicly available component library, right? So okay, before I get into the styling part, I want to first map the all of the menu items. So we have sign up, login, Airbnb, your home, host and experience, and help. So I'm going to have sign up, login, and then there's an HR, right? So I'll be doing that as well. HR stands for horizontal rule, which is basically a line. Then we have Airbnb your home. We have hosting experience and help. Okay. Airbnb your home, hosting experience and help. All right. Instead of actually giving this, I'm going to give it a div so that I can style this as well. I'm going to just give it a height of 1 pixels. I'm going to give it a background color of VR gray and a width of 100%. And let's see how that looks. All right. So now we just need to style this properly. So as you can see, the only difference between this menu and this menu is the fact that this has a rounder base, right? So now how do we do that? Well, there are multiple ways. We can try giving this a class name quickly and then seeing it, but I doubt that that will work now. And let me just try this once and see if this works. If this doesn't work, we'll have to properly style MUI. All right. So now since you want to style it, I'm just going to Google how to style MUI menu component, right? React and Stack Overflow has a lot of options. And over here, yeah. All right. So I think I can do that using this, and they're also using popover classes. Hmm. All right, let's look at a simpler way to style MUI components. Thank you so much, Siddheshwar. Siddheshwar says that Aki is not fake. It is the best platform where everyone can get their dream job, and I agree. All right. Hmm. Okay, so I do not want to make things this complicated for you guys. So let's just style it using simple SX tags, and that is all you have to do. So over here, what we're going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click look at this, and let's see if I add a border radius. All right, so that is getting styled, but it is just not showing in the div. Let's see, how can we change that? So border. All right. So what we have to do is I'll just take this class MUI paper route, and the way we style MUI is a bit different. So what you have to do is you have to pass this SX tags, and inside this SX tag you have to say dot, or I think and dot, and then this, and then you just style it like this. So now I'm going to give it a border radius of, I think, 1 rem should be good, and let's see if this works. Right, and it didn't. Let's see what are we doing wrong. Yeah. All right. So just add dot MUI paper root, and I can even give it a margin top. So let me give it a margin top of 1 rem, and let's see if that makes a difference. That does, right? 0.5. If I give it a box shadow of none, does that take away the box shadow? And yes, it does. All right. So we will be giving it the exact shadow that this has. And again, that is also very simple. All we have to do is We just have to go on this modal and see. Uh, hmm. Let's give it the same shadow that our header has, our search bar has. My bad. So I'm just going to copy this particular shadow and I'm going to go to my profile menu over here. I'm going to just paste this over here and we should be good. Right. Something that we can also do is I can get rid of padding top thing in general. I'll be explaining this code in a minute. SX is MUI syntax. So Sanchita, I was just about to come to that point, and basically what SX allows you to do is SX just okay. There's a padding to this li. Hmm. Or is there a padding to margin top? Is there? Let's see. Okay, I see. Hmm. All right. So basically, Sanchita, SX is the MUI syntax. And what that means is it basically is the styling property of of MUI, and you have to pass in the class name like this. And like I did, like I inspected this class name in front of you, and then I added the styling accordingly. So that is how you're ideally supposed to style MUI components. Right. Now on making this exactly how it looks over here is pretty simple. Right. All we have to do is I think give it a better width and we will be good. Right. So I think the width given to this right now is where is the width? All right, I think we can just give it a width directly, or maybe I can give it a min width and make the min width as 300 pixels. Let's see. If you use this value, this is how it looks. 300 is a lot, so we'll just make it 200. Right. I'm going to give it a top of 5 and let's see how that looks. So giving it a top did not change much. Yeah. Margin top of 1 rem. So this is how it looks. Something that we can also do is we can style these components. So I can just give it a class name over here. So I'm just going to give it a class name and I'm going to call these menu dash items, right? And all I have to do is just paste these over here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give these a margin as well. So what we're going to say is dot menu items, and I'm going to say margin top of 0.5. So this should ideally give everything a little space. And maybe if I say important, yeah, so on saying important, that works, right? Or I can just do this. Hmm, this will be fine. Okay. So on giving it a padding, it gets more spaced, and this is exactly what we wanted, right? Again, this is not pixel perfect, but we can make it pixel perfect, right? I can give it a padding top of this and 1 rem of this, and I can give it a font size of 0.8 rem, right? I can give it a color of VAR font gray, match the color as well, and I think this will be good, right? So yeah, this is now looking much more cleaner and much more better, and this is exactly what we have over here as well, or pretty similar to that, right? Perfect. Okay, so what is exclamation mark important? So exclamation mark important is basically used to give a priority to your styling, and instead of MUI. So by default, MUI gives its styling the priority, and that makes sense because we don't want MUI to not be styled pretty or not to look good, right? So it makes sense to have MUI give by default styling. But if we want to override these stylings, the way we do that is by basically writing this hashtag, not hashtag important, but exclamation mark important. And that is something that you don't have to do with MUI. This is a CSS property. So exclamation mark important just means giving priority to the CSS hierarchy. There's a CSS hierarchy by which elements get styled in CSS, right? And this is basically related to that. All right, so we have successfully made this as well. Right. So we are with this, we are almost done with the header. And the reason why I'm saying almost is because if we go if we go below a certain length, our entire code changes and we get this, right? We get this app drawer. And this is something that we'll be quickly implementing, sorry. And the way to do that is basically first we're going to decide a media query. And so let's say this is a media query. After 800 pixels, right? If something is smaller than 800 pixels, I want to get rid of all of this. I want to show this thing and I want to show this thing, right? Again, there are multiple ways to do that. We can make another search component and we can make this MUI drawer. Not MUI drawer, but MUI bottom nav bar. Right. So, okay, we are about to hit the 50% mark of this live stream, and there are still 40 people watching, so that's good. Please keep keeping the chats active so that we know that you guys are here and you guys are also learning with me. And because that was the end goal of this entire workshop. Also, do note that we will be giving the certificates later in about 30 minutes to 1 hour, and around 5:30 we'll be putting out the forms for the certificates, so you can get your certificates through that. Right, perfect. Okay. So, all right. So now again, the task is that we have to change this search bar and we have to add this bottom bar. After we reduce the screen size, if we go anything below 800 pixels, right? So now how do we do that? All right, so we will be accomplishing that by using media queries, and we'll be writing pretty simple media queries, right? So first things first, all we have to do is first get the code for our bottom nav. So this is the code for our bottom navigation bar. And as you can see, again, I can just copy this entire component, make a new component called bottom nav.js, and just paste this entire code. And now, as soon as let's say over here itself, I'm not so sure if this will work, but let's see. So now what we want to do is I want to get rid of all of this, right? And I just want to have my nav bar for now, let's say. So this is called simple bottom navigation. So I'm going to import that, right? And if I go to my Airbnb now, as you can see, I do get my nav bar already, right? It's again not styled in the best way, but yeah, right. Okay. So if you notice, there are a few different ways of implementing it. There's a fixed position one, right? There is, so this is the one that we will be using. And the way we will be using it is by just adding a position fixed. All right. So there's this property called show labels, which means that we will be showing the labels, right? If we do not say show labels, it is not going to show the labels, I think. Yeah, so over here we did not say show labels and there was no labels, right? Okay. So coming back. So now we basically need to style this, correct? And the way Airbnb does this is pretty simple. It has show labels and it has this at the very bottom, and that's it. So again, this is something that we will be doing. So I'll be going over here, and box is a property of yeah, box is again a property of MUI. It's the same thing as divs, right? So rather than saying box, I'm just going to say div so that you guys understand what's happening. Over here, I'm going to say div, and um, yeah, over here, I'm going to say div. I'm going to give this a class name as well. I'm going to give this a class name of bottom dash nav, and we're going to style this accordingly. So bottom dot nav is basically going to be again position fixed or position sticky, or is the position fixed. Bottom will be 0, right? Left will be 0, width will be 100%, and yeah, if I go to my screen now, you'll see my bottom nav is already here, right? And it is covering my entire screen ideally, just like this is, right? I can give this a border top. I can say we are gray over here. I can give it a box shadow as well. And I can basically give it the same box shadow, which is this one. Correct. And if I go over here, we see this. And as you can see, this is exactly what we wanted. Right, so we have our bottom nav bar also ready now. And something that if I show you what I basically want to do now is that we'll be having this, and we'll always be having this, and we'll always be having the mobile search bar. Now what we want to do is we want to write media queries, and we want to say that after the screen size of 800 pixels, if you are reducing, right, I just want to show this, and I don't want to show any of this. I just want to show this and my search bar, right? This is also the component that we will be making. So I'm going to say mobile search bar, right? And if I go over here, I can make one more component, and I can just say that should ideally not be inside header. So I think I can make a component like this and call it mobile search bar. And over here, this will have an index.js and styles.css. Right, okay. So now we have this mobile search bar over here as well. So basically, what we want to do is, okay, all right, yeah. Important meets most important. Am I correct? Yes, you are, Evant. So give me 2 minutes and everything will make sense. I know that I've quickly created a lot of files, a lot of things are happening on the screen right now, but I'll quickly explain. And I know for a fact that this will make sense the moment as soon as I'm done. Right? So, okay, understand the logic. Now, what we want to do is, let me import this as well. Okay. Now, try to understand the logic. What I want to do is, as my screen is decreasing, right? Firstly, this should not be visible if my screen size is greater than 800 pixels. As my screen is decreasing, I want this to be visible, and I want another new component similar to this to be visible. And that is my goal, right? So, now how do I do that? Firstly, how many of you guys are aware of media queries, and how many guys do you guys know how media queries work, right? How many of you guys know, basically? First tell me that. Okay, so Aniket is aware, Sanchita is aware as well. Patil is, Aniket is as well. Exactly. Perfect. So basically, media queries are used for making your websites or your applications responsive, right? And that is what we'll be using it here as well. It's a very standard use case. So now what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to have my media query. I'm going to have this over here, right? And I'm going to say dot bottom nav display none, right? Over here I want to say display flex block or whatever. I just want to display this. So basically now what happens is if my media screen is greater than 800 pixels, notice how my bottom nav bar is not there. Right? So let's say this is our desktop view. Our bottom nav bar is not there. Correct? Harshal, so basically media queries are used to say that if our media size is between so and so pixels, I want to show something or I want to edit certain piece of code. Right? Or I want to change the styling of something. So that is what media queries are used for. Anyways, so like I was saying, so when our screen is greater than 800 pixels, we do not see the bottom nav bar. But as soon as we decrease the size from 830 to below 800, we see our bottom nav bar, and that is what we wanted to do in the first place, right? So okay, anyway, yeah, the next thing that we want to do is we want to say that our nav bar should not a nav bar, but our nav bar logo, our search bar, and our all of these two divs, basically these two three divs should not be visible at all, right? Or we can even hmm, let's see. Okay, so what we want to do now is I will be getting rid of my nav bar logo. I'll be getting rid of my search bar. I'll be getting rid of my profile container. So if our screen size is below 800, we want to get rid of our nav bar logo, dot profile container, dot search bar. So I'm going to say display none. Right. So notice how that goes away. So if my screen is bigger, the header is there, but the bottom nav bar is not there. But if my screen is smaller, our bottom nav bar is there and our header is not there. Right. Yeah. Now that is what we wanted to do in the first place. And now just like that, we'll be writing the same media queries for our mobile search bar. And over here, we just want to say display block or display flex, whatever we want to, right? So let's do display block. Yeah, and that is about it. So now this way, if this is our mobile search bar, as you can see, if our screen is hmm, display none. If our screen is this, I'll be saying this. Right, dot mobile search bar, class name is dot mobile search bar. I do not understand as to why this is not visible. Yeah, okay. So this is our mobile search bar, and as you can see, basically, if the screen is larger, it's not visible, otherwise it is, right? And now over here, what we have to do is we just have to bring our or style our mobile search bar, right? And that is again, that is a task which is not that difficult. Correct. It's basically the same as this, right? Again, it is just what do you say? A display flex, not a display flex. It is first a position fixed or a position sticky, then we have display flex, and then we have our details, right? Okay. So, all right. Now we can style this or we cannot. That depends. We are running a We are running pretty low on time. That is for sure. So, okay, we will have to take a decision. Would you guys be fine if we skip the mobile search bar and we move ahead to our flex of all the icons, right? So this basically, I'm talking about this. So we will quickly code this component, and this is something which will not take a lot of time, and then we can move towards our cards, right? Perfect, perfect. So let's move ahead. All right. Okay, okay, we will skip this then. Yeah. Now basically, what we have to do is okay, so we will be making our flex, right? Which is this. So as you can see, this flex is nothing but it has a lot of images, and every image is in a flex box, and it spans throughout the entire screen. And yeah, so if you guys have cloned the GitHub repository that I did send, you will see that there's this image dash links.js, and this contains nothing but it is an array of, I think, 10, 12 or so links, right? And if you click on these links are nothing but these links respectively open all of these images, right? So now what we have to do is we will be mapping this array. And the way we'll be doing that is first we'll be modifying this array. And yeah, Ani. So please go ahead with your doubt. Where can I find the APIs for all of this data? All right, so I did not really research a lot about Air. I don't even think so. Airbnb has an API, right? Let me just do a quick search on that. Okay, Airbnb does have an API. All right, that's pretty new. So I think we'll all have to take out the time to go through this documentation. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty decent documentation, right? And yeah, so I think you can refer to this documentation, but apart from that, we will have to take out some time to go through this. If I do find a good API, I will make sure that I link that in the description of this YouTube live, right? But that will be later in a few hours, maybe, once we are done with this live. All right. So we are almost at the 2 hour mark, and we still have about a lot of people watching, so that's fine. The stream was started 102 minutes ago. Any doubts about anything till now? MUI, the bottom nav bar, anything? Okay, Ani, I will not be able to recap everything that we have done because obviously it's been about 2 hours since we are coding. But till now, we sadly haven't been able to cover a lot. I think I explained a lot about the header and how to accomplish that. So we were still kind of doing the initial bit, right? After that, we moved on towards the fact that we have to add a bottom navigation bar at the bottom below and a header, right? So anyway, so we have just been doing this so far. All right. So now we're moving on towards this array. So now something that you guys need to realize is that the reason why I built that constants file is so that we can map all of this data, right? And okay, so let's get started by making a different component finally. So let's just call this links flex, right? Or filter. Let me call this the filter component. And this filter component will have an index.js and a styles.css. Right, we will be having, again, this is pretty standard stuff. I'll quickly include import. slash styles.css, class name, filter div. All right, I'm glad. So now basically what we need to do is I'll be including this app.js in our filter component in our app.js, sorry. And all right, so now this is what we see on our screen. There is an error. I did not save this file. All right. So this is what we see on our screen. As you can see, our filter component is right here. So now what we need to do is, okay, we need to have an array. We already have an array and we just want to show all of these images, right? So it's pretty simple. All we have to do is we have to map that array, and according to that array, we will be showing all of the data, right? So I'm just going to quickly give this a padding, and I'll be giving it a display flex. I'll also be giving this an overflow X auto, right? And I'm going to give it a max width of, or I'm just going to give it a width of 100% so that it fits the entire screen, and it also has an overflow X. Justify content will be sent, will be flex start. Let's keep it flex start, and align items will be centered. Right. Okay. So now all we need to do is we need to map our images accordingly, right? And that function is pretty simple. We have this constants file over here, images-links. So I'll just quickly get our links from there. So I'll just say links.map. I'm going to say item, and over here now I'm going to render an image component or an image tag, the src of which will be item. Right, I'm also going to give this a key so that we get no errors. And yeah, okay, so it says links is not defined, so we'll just import it. So links is coming from assets, and there's this file called images-links, right? So now if you see, okay, so this is what we see, right? And this is exactly what we wanted in the first place anyways, correct? All right, let me get rid of this. Yeah, and this is what we wanted in the first place. All right, so yeah, what we now need to do is we just need to simply style these this div accordingly, and we'll be all fine, right? So I'll be putting this image inside our div. I'll be taking out the key tag and I'll be putting it over here. I'm going to give it a class name, and I'm going to call this links box, right? Now my links box is actually going to be not a flex, but it's going to be a div, and it has one more thing. It has these titles, right? And this is something that I wanted to discuss with you guys. So far, did you guys understand why are we mapping our links and how are we getting our images, right? I think that part must be clear to everyone, correct? Yeah, perfect. So, thank you so much, Nupur. All right. So basically, right. So now we just need to get our, we are already having our image tags, and now we just need this image views, top of the world, farms, basically all of the labels as well. So what we'll be doing is we will be changing our object structure, and right now we just have an array of links, right? What we'll be doing is we'll be converting all of these links into different objects, and we'll be having different key value pairs, correct? So we'll be having two keys and two values. So one will be the label, then the link, the label, then the link, and we'll be having an array of this object, right? So, all right, I'll quickly edit our array. So I'll be doing this, right? Then I'm going to have, let's say, a link or image src. I'm going to say image src. And this is going to be my image src, right? And I'm also going to have a label. So my label is going to be, let's say, the first label is amazing views, right? So amazing views. Then my next label is probably going to be, I think, top of the world. So we're going to have that as well. Right, over here we're going to have farms, surfing, lakefront. So farms, surfing and lakefront, right? Surfing, lakefront, and so on. Right, so I'm not going to really put all of my labels, so I'm just going to quickly add them in my array like this, and this should be good. Right, okay. So now since our object structure has changed, so our item has changed, right? So now my image src is not just item, it's item dot image src. Similarly, I have another thing. So I'll be having a p tag over here, and it's not just going to be labels, it's going to be item dot label, right? Or labels if it was called labels. Yeah, it was called label, right? So item dot label. Correct. And that is basically going to get my labels as well. And as you can see, that happens. Now we just have to style this properly for this to work. Right. Again, styling is the easy part. All we have to do is just give this a class name. So I'm going to call this links dash image. Right. And I'm also going to give the p tag a class name. And I'm going to say links dash label. Correct. Yeah. All right. So now, as you can see, we just have to style this. So let me just quickly do that, and then we'll be good to go with this component. So links images. So now I'll be saying dot links images over here. I'm going to give this a width of, I think 4 rem will be good enough. 4 rem might be a lot. Let's see. Yeah, 4 rem is a lot. So 3 rem, right? Um, hmm. Let's see. Okay, it needs to be smaller than that. So 2 rem, right? The height will be 2 rem as well. And object will be cover, object fit. I can do contain. Let's see. Right, so contain works out. Something that I will be doing is I'll be having my links box, and over here I'm going to actually make it a display flex. I'm going to give it a flex direction of column, justify content center and center, so that everything is centrally aligned. Right, now something that I should also do is give it a margin. So I'm going to give it a margin of 1 rem, so that every image is 1 rem apart. 1 rem might be a lot, but let's see. And something that I'll also do is I'll say dot links dash label, and I'm going to decrease the font size. Right, so we are almost getting there. I'll give this a font weight of 800 as well, and initially the color will be VAR gray, right? VAR gray or VR, I think font gray. need the 600. All right, so this is what we have. And this is pretty similar to what we have over here as well. And the only thing is they have actually reduced the opacity. So I'm also going to do that. I'm going to say opacity 0.8, and that should reduce the opacity of the entire link box. Right, 0.8 is not good enough. Maybe 0.5 will do. And yeah, so 0.5 is good. Now, all I need to do is I just need to, on hovering of these images, I just need to say that I will be changing the opacity. So my opacity will be 1, and I'll have a border bottom of, let's say, 1 pixel solid, and we are black. Right, so let's see. So this is how we have our animation right now. And again, this is not the best way to do it. So we will change it a little bit. So firstly, I'll have this as white so that we don't see it. I'm going to have a transition of all 0.3 seconds. Right, and this is much cleaner. Something that we'll also do is I might give a min width to all of my links, right? Because I see that. Hmm, okay, let me first actually decrease the size of the images a little bit, and I'll also decrease the font size and the margin as well. So I'm just going to give it a margin right, and I'm going to give it a margin right of 0.5 then. Yeah, so this is much better, much cleaner, right? And okay, so something that we also need to do is the fact that I should add more of these icons, which I will later. And yeah, we need to give this entire flex box a lesser padding. I'm going to give it a border top of 1 pixels solid and VAR. Hmm. All right, so this is what we have then. Right. So something that we will do is I'll make all of this just one word. Because I don't understand how they manage to. Is it just me, or are all of these divs different heights, different widths, right? This is thinner, this is obviously going to be wider. So we can do that as well, or we can have a fixed width. I would suggest having a fixed width because that brings a little bit of a nice touch, right? Something that we also need to do is I will be actually giving this a width of, or I'll give it a margin, right? Or in general, a margin. Let's see. So something that I realized was this list is starting from this particular end and it's not stretching all the way to the screen, right? So this is what, let's say, hmm, we'll give it this exact width, right? So let's go back to our header styling and see how much padding we have given. So 3 rem. So I think 3 rem was good enough before as well. So instead of giving it a horizontal padding, I'm going to give it a margin of 0 rem and 3 rem. So it's like this basically, exactly. Right, but the horizontal line was, I believe, full length. All right. So I think we'll have to give it a padding of 3 rem. That's the only way. Yeah. All right. Something that I'll quickly do is I'll just replicate these a little more, right? This, and so that this is scrollable. Yeah, as you can see, this is scrollable, but something that we notice is that our this also changed. All right. So let me actually go ahead and give my links box a min width. I'm going to say 200, 150 pixels. I think that'll be good enough. 150 pixels is a lot. 50 pixels. I basically want it to be, this is the max, other, yeah, let me see. 90 is a lot. Hmm. 85 is fine. Yeah, so this did space out everything, and which is fine, right? Anyway, so yeah, this is not exactly the same implementation that they have done, but I think since we are a little lacking on the time, we should go ahead and do this, right? So Ani has a doubt, and Ani is asking on what basis do we decide to use a class component or a functional component? That is a really good question, Ani. Basically, I personally like to use I basically like to use functional components for all of my React projects. Since we, since if we talk about use hooks, that is the only place where you can do that, right? But anyway, it's totally up to you. It's definitely totally up to you. But I personally prefer using functional components. And Tanan is asking about the certificate. So we will be floating the certificate form soon, and that is also when we will be taking a quick 5-10 minute break, right? So that I'll be giving you time to fill the form. And right now, what we need to do is I'll quickly build a functionality where we are selecting these particular, what do you say, these filters, right? So I'll be making a simple use state which is just selected filter, and I'm going to say set selected filter and new state, and now I'm just going to have an empty string over here. So I think we discussed use state in a lot of depth in the last week's lectures that we had, or the last week's, yeah, in the last week's YouTube live. So I don't need to explain this more, but yeah, what we now need to do is simply I'm just going to create an on click function for my links box, and on clicking this I'm just going to set my selected filters, and I'm going to set the label or the key, right? And yeah, that is about it that I need to do. So now every time I click on this, right, and I think I can also console log it so that you guys have an understanding of what's happening. So I'm just going to say console log selecting key. All right, so now every time I click on this particular object, notice how my console log changes, right? So over here, I'm selecting key 0. Over here, I'm selecting key 1, key 2, key 3, right? This is key 6. If I scroll, key 22, and that is how we'll be selecting and deselecting our items. Right, so now my selected filter is already, it has the key, right? Now all I need to do is I can either style it using two things. I can either use dynamic classes or I can add custom styling, right? So I think let's go with the first option where we are changing the class name accordingly. So I'm going to have a variable, and I'm going to say if key equals to selected filter, right? Then I want to return a selected box. All right. And when I do that, I'll be adding another styling over here. I'm going to say selected box is equal to, and I'll be styling it basically like this. So whatever was in my hover will now be in my selected box, right? So key is not defined. Let's see. Instead of key, I'm going to use the word I, because key is obviously this variable and we have I. Right, so now if I select something, it should stay selected, and that is the case, right? And as you can see, this is a functionality that we wanted to achieve, and it works. Something that I can also do is, I think we are making it bolder as well. Hmm. So I'll basically write the same code for my labels, and the only difference is this time, instead of saying this, I'm going to say label and selected label. Right, so I'm just going to say selected dash table, and I'm over here, I'm going to say font weight is 800. Right, and cursor equals to pointer. I agree. So cursor will be pointer. Thank you so much for that input. All right, so now on selecting this, we see that our code works. And something that I missed was the fact that we should change the color and not the weight. Yeah, and this is yeah, this is pretty similar to what is done over here. And now we can move on to the part where we are making these cards. Right. All right. We'll come. Okay. So the entire point of this series was to give you an overall idea of how to implement this. And I feel the cards is still the most important and the most cleanest part of this, because we will be implementing cards using Swiper.js. So that is why I'm quickly rushing to the cards part. Once we are done with our cards and once we are done with the overall structure, we will probably come back and style things again and style things properly, right? So since we are again losing a little bit when we talk about in respect to the time that we have, sorry, but yeah, we are running low, so that's okay, right? Anyway, any doubts in the implementation that we had for this, including the fact that we are now saving our keys using the states, right? And since keys is something which is going to be, yeah, since keys is something which is going to be unique, we don't have to worry about overlapping. We don't have to worry about two things having the same, keys, or two things having being whatever to select it at the same time, basically. Right. So can we move ahead? Any doubts in this? Okay, so Dheeraj says no doubts. All right, that is really good. So we are done with this, we are done with this, and we have already made this as well. If we reduce the size of a screen, we have this mobile component that we will be using, right? And this is also working accordingly. All right. Yeah. Something that I'll do is actually till now, since we do not have the time to make our mobile search bar, I will just improvise a little bit, and I'm not going to display none to everything. I'm just going to say dot search bar is display none, and I'm still going to show everything else so that my page is still a little responsive. And I am going to get rid of this and just have our basic menu there. Yeah, so this is much better, I believe. And this should be towards the end of the screen. Let me see what's wrong over here. Navbar. Hmm. Space between does not act like this. Let's see. There's something is off about the space between. Should I make my width as Hmm. I see. All right, we'll come back to this later, but for some reason this should be towards the end, right? And yeah, hmm. Let's see what's going wrong over here. Because space between should mean that this is towards two opposite sides. Let's see. Hmm. All right. Okay, so I think I do know what's happening. So I'll just go over here and quickly, um, where is our menu? Hmm. This is our profile menu flex. And okay, so let me just see style width as fit content and margin left auto. Let's see if that works for us. Right. And make it block. Making it block is not going to really affect us in any way, right? Let's see. So our images over here, that is fine. We've set display none to everything. It is just this container that we want to change now. And okay, this is over here because of, I think, this spacing. And that is probably what is causing it. So something we can do is, that's weird. Okay, let's do one thing. A simple quick fix, because we are lack on time. I will just quickly say dot. Yeah, but this is still having the same issue. Hmm. All right, we'll see. So this did not work. Let me just go ahead and make my profile menu. Let me just give it a position fix and put it at the top right of the screen. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. Position fixed. And let me just say top 0 and right. Let me just say 1.5 RAM. Right, so if we do this, this works. All right, so it's probably related to that only, to be honest, but let's see. So here top should not be 0. I'll make top as 1.1 RAM, 0.5 RAM. Right. So now this is styled perfectly, and we did have to change these values, which should not have happened, but that's okay. Right, anyway. So now this is still a little more responsive for a mobile screen, and I think we can go ahead with this, right? And yeah, Exactly, exactly, Annie. All right. Okay, moving on to the cards, right? Okay. So now the cards is nothing but it is a div, and this is again being mapped, right? So we will be mapping it. And over here, what we have is we have an image which will be in the form of a swiper.js thing. And then we have our headings, we have our gray text, and we have our price at the end. The name is also a flex with the title and the stars, right? So we'll do that as well. Okay. So let's make a new component and we'll first make cards flex, right? And what this component will be, this will be the flex of all the components, or I can just say cards over here, and I can have an index.js. I can have card.js, and I will have styles.cs, right? CSS. Okay. So what my index.js is basically it will have my cards being flexed inside this, if that makes sense. My card will have my card will obviously be just one card with the image and the swiper.js code, and index will have all the cards mapped, and styles is obviously styles. So that is just we just need to make one style for that, right? So over here I'll have my import slash styles.css. Perfect. So now what I need to do is I need to make my flex. So quickly I'll just say class name. I'm going to say cards dash flex. And this cards dash flex is going to be nothing but it is going to be a display flex. Display content will be flex start. Align items will be center. Flex wrap will be wrap as well. And padding will be 1 rem and 3 rem. And I think we should be good. And now all I need to do is I just need to yeah. So now I'll get my card component, and over here I'm just going to have, for now let me just bring an image and let's see how that looks. So I'm going to say import hotel from dot slash dot slash assets slash hotels slash, let's do hotel dash one dot ppeg. Correct. And yeah, so now I can just pass this over here. I'm going to have a styling, so I'm going to say class name card dash image, and I will make my card dash image. I'll give it a height of 300 pixels and a width of 300 pixels, right? And object fit cover. All right. So this is what I have, and I am including this over here. I have this, and let's see as to why can we not see it over there, right? Let me refresh my image and let's see. Oh, so the reason why we cannot see it is because we haven't included this cards inside our app.js. So I'm just going to have that as well, right? And we should be able to see our image. Perfect. So we can see our image now, right? And that is something that we wanted to do. So the entire point of this was to show you guys that if I give this or I can give that a gap, right? Okay, so I'm just going to give this a gap of 1 rem as well, and this is going to have a border radius of 1 rem. All right, so basically now if I just have a mapping of all of these cards, let's say I have 10 cards, and if I just show 10 cards like this is how my cards are going to look like, right? Obviously I need to style it better, but as you can see, it is nothing but it is a simple flex, and that is how it works, right? Something that I should do is I can style this as, instead of saying flex start, I'm going to say center center. So at least everything is going to be centered. Correct? And this is how my cards will look like. Perfect. I just now need to style them properly and start making my component properly. All right. So this is going to cover almost everything. Right, we'll be starting off by first making this part, and then I'll add the swiper gears in the end, because obviously this will take me 2 seconds to do. Okay, so below our image we have a flex, and that flex is nothing but it is a flex between card info flex. Right, so that flex is nothing but it is a flex between two things. One is the card name, obviously. So I'm just going to say place right now, and then we have another flex which is the rating, right? So card rating. Now this rating is nothing but it is a star icon and a number. So again, to get the star icon, we're going to go quickly to our MUI. I'm going to say star, and I think this star will match the best. Never mind, it's filled. So we will use this star. This star will work the best. All right, so I'll just include this star right now. I am going to say star icon, and over here I'm again going to have my p tag, and this will say, let's say 4.88. Right, so my card info flex will be flex of with a flex with a justify content with space between. Right, display flex justify content space between align item center, and width will be 100%. Padding, I don't think so we need to give it a padding, but 0.5 rem and 1 rem. Yeah, we don't need to give it a padding. No padding. Right. So this should basically have this, and that is fine. Now what we need to do is we need to go to my card, and I need to make this card rating as flex as well. So I'm going to add this in flex too. So card rating, display flex, align item center, and that's it. I don't need to do much. All right, I can give this a gap of 0.25. Right, and this is what we have. Okay, so now understand that we already have a margin top over here without even giving one, because of our h3 attribute, right? And that is something that I can definitely change, and I will definitely change. So what we need to do is I will be giving my card an h3 as well. So I'm going to say, okay, um all right, so we will be floating the forms for the certificate soon, right? And anyway, till then, let's just finish this quickly. So I'm going to have my card title, and in my card title I will give it a margin top of 0.2 rem. Right, so this is obviously closer now, and that's better. I will also change my card info flex to align item center to, I'll say, flex start. Right, and again I'll have to change the uh, margin top for this as well. So I'm just going to say card dot card rating p tag, right? And again, similarly for this too, I should do the same, but okay. Hmm. Let's see. How do you call the data from your JSON for actual data? What do you mean, Ani? because we got the JSON. It's not a JSON, it's an array of objects, right? So we were just getting this data by just saying export const links. So we are kind of exporting this constant, and that's how we are handling it, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so as I was saying, all right. So something that we can do is, let's just move forward for now, and then we'll come back to this, right? So now I just have to add these two things: beach and sea views, and then the dates, and then the price, and that's it. Okay. So that is something that we'll be having below our info flex, and over here I just have to say p, right? I can say style. I can give this a styling off, and I can just say margin top is 0, and I can just say beach and sea views. So beach and sea views, right? Similarly, I'll have the same thing for my pricing or my dates first. Okay, so I'm going to say 19 to 25th May. All right. And okay, something that we see is as we are scrolling, our header is not breaking, but we haven't given it a background white. Right, so we'll just do that as well. So I'm just going to give this a background color EAR white, right? And that should fix DAR white. And all right, yeah, this is better now. Okay, so giving it a Z index also solves the problem. Okay, so this is what we have uh, right now, and we need to quickly get rid of the margin tops as well for this, which should have happened on its own. So okay, so instead of saying margin top, let me just make it margin. And yeah, that is much better. Even for my yeah, so basically even for my card rating and my card infoflex, I think I should get rid of this, right? So even for my card title, my card rating, uh, p tag, I should get rid of the margin bottoms, that it's a bit closer. So card title dot card. Let's see if this works. Yeah, this is a little better. And I'm going to give my cards a margin bottom or a margin in general. Let's see. Yeah, so they are much more spaced now. All right. Hmm. For some reason, not for some reason, but yeah, we are having some trouble styling this. So I'm just going to comment this for now. And I would rather take this up. Anyway. All right, so something that we need to do is I will be giving these p tags a color of gray. Right, so I'm going to say color var Font. Okay, and yeah, that should be good enough as well. Right. All right. Okay, so I think we have floated the form for your certificate. So feel free to fill this form to get a certificate. And the link is correct and it is working. So that's also nice. All you have to do is just fill in your email, your full name, your WhatsApp number, your graduation year, and that's it. You will be receiving your forms accordingly, your certificates accordingly. My bad. So yeah, I think this is a good time to take a break, right? We have been coding nonstop for almost 2 hours, 2.5 hours now, and we just have around 30 minutes left. I think we'll be extending the time a little bit, right? To just quickly cover these cards, and then we'll be all set, right? Will this series be continued? I hope so. We can finish our project today itself, but if not, then we'll see what we can do, right? I'll let you know accordingly. But till then, let's take 5 minutes. Let's take a break for 5 minutes. You guys fill this form and start leaving a +1 as you guys are filling this form, right? If you guys have any doubts, feel free to leave that in the chat right now. And yeah, let's take a quick 5 minute break, and that's it. All right. So leave a +1 as you guys start filling the forms and you're done with it so that we can quickly continue and get done with this project. Right? We are almost towards the end, but I feel we might be taking this live stream from just 3 hours to 3.5 hours. Let's see. Let's try to get done with this as quickly as possible. But I feel we have covered a lot today, so that's obviously good, right? All right. So let's continue. So now what's left is the fact that we need to build our Swiper.js and style this a little more cleanly because this is not the most cleanest implementation. I do realize that. So let's just quickly write the price first and then we'll get started with the proper styling. Right, okay. So I think we can have one more p tag similar to this, and over here we'll be having the price, right? Let's say 2000, and I think it said night, yeah. So 2000 night, and we'll be making our 2000 as bold. So we'll be putting this inside a span, and that's about it, right? So, or we can just put it inside strong, right? So this will be bolder now, and it is, but the color is not right. So we'll obviously make this as black, right? So style, color, var. All right, I think even the entire price is black, if I'm not, yeah, the entire thing is black. All right. So let me take this out and I'll just say black over here. Correct. And instead of the dollar sign, let me use the rupee sign, which I cannot select apparently. Rupee symbol. All right. Instead of actually seeing this, let me just properly style this as well. Font weight should be 600. And that will be good enough. Okay, so our font weight is now 600 and that should be fine, right? And all right, I might decrease this font size a little bit too. So let me just make this 0.2 rem and I'll decrease the font size as well. I'm going to call this Combinator. All right. Yeah, so this is much better. Right. So now what is left is just the swiper implementation and that is it. I think I am audible, right? Someone mentioned in the chat that I am not, but I think so I am. Correct. Leave a +1 if you guys can hear me. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right. Um, all right. So all we need to do now is just add a swiper gist and then we will be good to go. Right. So something that I had gone ahead with was that I made this special branch which already has the code for swiper.js, and all you guys have to do is just copy that code and you'll be all set. Right. So it is in the swiper test branch itself. So if I go to my app.js over here, I will have the code that I need to convert my to convert my entire code to swiper.js. Right. So all I have to do is I'll be copying all of this and I'll just be pasting it over here. Right. I'm going to say npm swiper, and that is going to install all the packages that I need for my swiper.js. And yeah, right. So once that is done, we can now include swiper.js in our projects pretty neatly. And all we have to do is just copy all of this code and we'll be all set. Right. So over here, I'll do this. I do not need this anymore. And the only thing is that I have a class name already made. So I can get rid of all of the styling that I have and just replace it with my class name. Correct. And as soon as I do that, I should have swiper.js, and so this becomes scrollable, and that is something that we wanted. Right now, the only thing is, as you can notice, our swiper, this basically button is blue, right? I do not know if you guys can see it, right? If you guys can see it on the screen, but this is blue, right? These dots need to be white. So now how do we do that? Well, that is also something which is very, very simple. All you have to do is just pass in, we have this car dash box as our class name. And all I have to do is just say dot car dash box. And then I can just say, let me inspect this element and get the exact class name that I need, right? So then I just need to say swiper pagination bullet dash active, or I can just say swiper pagination bullet. Let's see. Right, the code for this is also in the GitHub. So over here, I think I'm using dot swiper pagination bullet active. Yeah, and I just need to set the background color as white. Right, and this will be good enough. Instead of saying hashtag FFF, I'm going to say we are white, and that will make my swiper dots as white like they are in the original Airbnb clone. And yeah, so we have implemented swiper as well. If you guys want to know what we exactly did, well, it is very simple, right? We have this swiper component which takes a child component called swiper slide. So everything that you see in a slide is this, right? And this is what is enabling these slides. And we don't need this, right? We don't need this as well, but okay. All right. So now what you need to understand is that swiper is the parent component, and inside that parent component, we have our swiper slide. So swiper slide is again just the slides. The swiper is the parent component, and over here it takes certain props. So one of the props is slides per view. Right now we have one slide per view. Let's say if I make it two. Let's see what happens. As soon as I make it two, we see that we see two slides in one slide, right? If I make it three, one slide will be divided into three components. We don't want that. We just want one. Similarly, space between, if I say this, if I make this as zero, what I see is that I get no spaces between my images, right? But as soon as I make this as 10, what I see is that there is a little gap, right? As you can see, there's this white gap in between of these two images. Correct? Yeah. Otherwise, you can make this number to 50. There will be a bigger gap, right? So now there's a bigger gap, as you can see. So you can obviously choose this value according to your particular needs. I think 15 would be fine, or 20 would be fine as well, right? And that works the best, or even 15 would, for that matter. Anyway, we are saying that loop is false. That means our pictures are not being looped, as you can see. So we start from the rightmost, and then we leftmost, and we go to the rightmost. But after that, we cannot scroll any further. So the way we handle that is by saying true. As soon as I make this true, this will become, this will be in a loop, and I can just keep on swiping right and keep on going forward, right? Anyway, yeah, and right now mouse wheel is true. And what that means is I will be able to scroll using my mouse, and that is something that I needed. CSS mode is true. That means I can change my particular CSS accordingly. Pagination just means that this has pagination in it, right? If I give the prop navigation as well, what's going to happen is I'm going to have these arrows, right? So you can use these arrows to navigate. For some reason, I cannot. Let me see as to why. Navigation is equal to true. Yeah. So if I add this, I'll be able to navigate, right? And you can also change the styling of these arrows as well. But I don't think so we need to do it right now, so that's okay. Right, so we can just work with this simple component, and yeah, so that is how you would implement Swiper.js. Now we just need to make this responsive so that we can make it look good. Correct? All right. So something that you guys need to realize is that first let me pass a class name over here as well. Swiper container. And I'm going to give my Swiper container a height and width of 300 pixels. I can give it more. So let's say I make this height and if let's say I keep the width as 300 pixels, but I make the height as 500 pixels. Let's see what happens, right? As you can see, this is what happens. So basically there is an extra height to our swiper, right? And that is something that we do not want. So that is why I kept the height as 300, this as 300. And I think I should keep overflow Y or overflow hidden so that we cannot scroll. Right, for some reason this image is draggable, and I think that's a property of Swiper.js. I'm not so sure because our image has the same size and so does our Swiper container. All right, but anyway, coming to the styling of this. Right, so by default Airbnb shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. So let's try and fit 5 cards. Right, I think if I make my height and width as 250, 250, I should be able to fit 5 cards, and I will get rid of the gap since I already have a margin, right? And I think I'll give a margin bottom of 2 rem, right? So this way we also have 5 cards now, and I will do one thing and get my border radius as 0.5 rem. So this is better, right? And yeah, or we can increase the size as well. Let's see, let's make it 270 and see how that looks. 270 is slightly bigger, right? My bad, I'll make this 270 as well. 270 is slightly bigger, and I think this is better as well, as now we are covering the entire screen, so this is good. Right, now we can have more cards over here and we will be fine, as you can see. Yeah, correct, we can have as many cards as we want to, and you can obviously, instead of having them like this, you can map them as well. So something that I was going to tell you guys was that you can map them by making an array. So either you can have that array in the assets folder, or you can kind of have it over here itself. So let's actually build it in our assets folder, and I can just say paths dash list .js. Similarly, this is also going to be the same thing. I'm going to say export const list, and over here this will be an array of objects. Right. So what is going to be the structure of our objects, you ask? Well, we will have an image src, correct? So we'll have an image src. Over here, we'll have price. We'll have a date. We'll have obviously a title. And I think we'll have more things, but this is good enough for now. And I'll quickly go to my card and I'll get this image src. Right. In fact, our image src is actually going to be an array of links, because we need to map those many slides as well, right? So let's just do this for now. Right, if you want more links, we can get more links by simply just googling, and you can google whatever you want to. I think I googled beautiful hotels to get the images that I did, and Yeah, you can just get whatever image source you want to, right? Let's say this, so I can just copy image address and I can just put it in my array over here, right? I can do more. I can get this as well. I can put this as well. So yeah, feel free to get as many images as you want to. And the price, let's keep it 20,000. The date, let's keep it 15th to 20th May itself. And title will be Hotel 1. Right. So now I can have an object like this and I can have multiple objects like this. So I can keep on pasting as many as I want to. Right. And all of these will be getting mapped. I can change the images as well. Somewhere I can keep two, right? Somewhere I can just keep one. And similarly, I can change the price as well. 20,000, I'll keep this 30. I'll change these dates. This is just simple data that you guys are manipulating. So feel free to change it according to your needs. Right? And so this will say October and so on. Right? So now what I need to do is I'll just go to my cards over here. And firstly, I'm going to pass the entire card object. Right? Over here, I will be, instead of doing this, I'll be mapping it. So I'm going to say list dot map, right? And in my mapping function, I'll have a card and I'll have an key, right? And over here, I'm going to just return my card. Of card, I can even say item, but whatever. Over here, now I'm going to say card. Card is equal to card. Key is equal to I, right? Inside my card now, I will first, I'll be getting my list from cards list. And if I go inside my card component now, I can easily just map my swiper slides. So I do not need all of this code now. I do not even need this code. I can just say card dot image src dot map item comma I, right? I can pass my key over here. Now my item is actually my image src, or I can just say src, right? And instead of this src, I can just pass that src, correct? Similarly, over here, instead of having the place name, I can just say card dot title, I think. Instead of having this, or instead of having this, I can say card dot date. Over here, instead of this, I can say card dot price. Right. So now my data should be dynamic. Let's see. And as you can see, the data is dynamic, right? Let me refresh. And yeah, so there are some pictures with 3 pictures, there are some with 4, right? And as you can see, my data is also changing. So this is hotel 1, this is hotel 3, 30,000 a night, 20,000 a night. The dates are changing. Something that I need is this text and the rating. So I'll quickly add that in my list as well, right? So so I'm going to add rating, and over here I'm going to give it 4. Right, after reading a description, I think, and I can say beach and sunset. Right, so I've added the same rating and the same description for every card, but I can obviously change it according to my list, correct? The only point was making everything dynamic, and because of this, everything will be dynamic now. I can say card dot rating, and over here I can just say card dot description, right? And that is going to get me all of the data, and this works. Right. Hi, Mahesh. Yeah. So you are joining pretty late into the live stream, but that's okay. Anyway, so we are almost done now. I think we did catch up quite quickly to the entire thing. And right, so now all we need to do is just make this responsive. And as you can see, this is pretty nicely responsive. But in the tablet view, we just need to have two really large cards, and in the mobile view, we'll just have one card. Right. So again, that's just a matter of writing media queries, and let's just quickly write those then. So you can keep your own media queries, but for me, what I would like to do right now is, let's say our tablet view is from when our screen size is less than this, right? So I'll inspect element and I'll see as to where my website breaks. This is fine. This is fine. What we'll be doing is, after I think 1,000 pixels, yeah, exactly after 1,000 pixels, I'll be changing the width of my card image and my swiper container. Right. So I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to add, let's say, a width of 500 pixels. 500 pixels is a lot, so 300, 400, let's do 400 and see. Yeah, so 400 works perfectly for us. And okay, so something that we will do is, I'll make my width in percentages. So let me just say 50% and see how that looks. Right. Um, let me refresh this. Okay, so giving a width of 50% did not work at all. So 40 view width. Okay. So giving it a width of 40 view width works, and this is going to say the same. But what we now need to do is once our screen size is less than 800 pixels, when basically we enter our mobile view, right? I will make the screen width as, what do you say, 100%, right? Or 90 view width. Let's see. So once we enter into our mobile view, if I refresh my screen, my card width should be 90%. Let's see. It is 90 view width. I will also say margin. That's hyper container as well. Right, and I will increase the size to, I'll give it a max height, 400 pixels, and I'll make the height as 50%. Right, so now in the mobile view, our cards look fine as well. And as you can see, Swiper is completely responsive. So that's also something that does not cause any pain. Right, we can obviously change our app bar below, and that is also working. And something that we need to do is, I need to give a margin left to this thing accordingly. So in our media query of 800 pixels, what I'll do is, I will be giving this a padding of, I think, 3.5 and 1.5 should be good. Right. Or should I just make it 0? All right. So I'll also get rid of the padding of our cards flex, right? Dot cards flex padding 0. Right. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, this is better. Correct. So we did catch up pretty well, right? I think we have now implemented the cards properly too, and it is something which is pretty decently responsive, and it's not looking that bad, right? So I'm pretty glad that we did cover what we wanted to cover, and now there are only a few little things left, which is buttons like this. So show map, right? The modal that I wanted to show you guys, and that's about it. None of which is too complicated to implement, right? So exactly. Anyways, before that, something that I said that I will be discussing is, okay, so we are done with this, we are done with this, we're done with the bottom nav bar, done with the filters, done with the card flex, we're done with the swiper.js, and now these are all the things that is left. So majorly one more feature that is left is adding the modal for the sign up, right? Let me just bring that down for now, and I'll be including that in the discussion, right? We did not really need to add more pages. This is just a single page application, so we'll get rid of this for now. And yeah, so let me just push all of the code right now and push it on GitHub so that we can quickly host this website so that this becomes shareable. Right. Okay. So now the way we do that is we'll be using Netlify. And before using Netlify, something that I want to do is I will be pushing all of my code to GitHub. Right. So let me just push all of it. Yeah. So the code is now, you guys should be able to see the code on GitHub, right? And our main branch is there. And all right, I think I can get rid of our swiper test branch. To be honest, we don't need it anymore. Let me just get rid of this. All right. So we just have our main branch now, and let's host this using Netlify, right? So I'll be going to my Netlify and let me log in. So log in using your GitHub so that it's easier for you to connect your GitHub repository. Anyway, so we are going to click on add new site. I'm going to import from an existing project. I'm going to import a GitHub repository. Right, it says already I'm authorized. And now I'm just going to search my repository. I'm going to say Airbnb starter. This is it. Uh, all right, so we will be deploying it. We'll be deploying the main branch, right? Since I deleted the other branches. And yeah, so all I have to do is just click on deploy site and it should take care of everything, right? Something that might happen is, yeah, something that might happen is that it might not really host properly and it might say that, okay, let me just show you the build logs for that, to be honest. So as soon as we click on build, it's going to build our entire website and host it. So it's going to go through all of the files, it's going to see all of the packages, and yeah, then it's eventually going to start the building process, right? And that is something that takes its own sweet time. So let's let it do its thing. And okay, so it has already started to build that, right? Okay, something that we see is that it failed to compile, and the reason given to us was that it was treating warnings as errors because process.env.ci is true, right? And most CI servers set it automatically. So basically what that means is that we need to set this env variable as false for our project to deploy because it is right now treating warnings as errors. Clearly we do not have any errors in our React websites because we can see it, but there might be certain warnings that we might be ignoring, right? So if I actually go to my inspect element over here and click on my console, there might be certain warnings that I see, right? If I don't see these warnings over here, maybe I'll be seeing them over here, right? And there's a high chance, yeah. So these are all the warnings that I'm getting. like it's saying button is defined but is never used, right? Image elements must have an alt prop, right? Hotel is defined but is never used. So there are these certain things that are defined, or things that are there that are never used. So either I can go and edit all of my files one by one and try to make sure that I have no warnings left, or I can just change my deploy credentials, or my I can create a environmental variable, and that is how I can quickly deploy it, right? So I'll go to my build and deploy settings. I'm going to go to my environments. I'm going to make a new variable called ci, and I'm going to make it false, right? And then I'm just going to click on save, and that is it. That is all that I have to do. Then I go to my deployment again and deploys, and I just trigger deploy again, right? So the moment I do that now it's going to do all of the same processes, but the only difference is this time it's not going to say that it's treating warnings as errors. It's going to say that we are now, since CI variable is false, we will be kind of treating warnings as warnings and we're not taking them seriously, right? Then it's going to take its own sweet time to deploy the website. And once that's done, we will be good to go, right? As you can see, it is doing its own thing. It's working right now. Right, and Netlify build has started, the build command has started, and now our website should get, yeah, should build properly without any errors, or with warnings but no errors, right? And as you can see, these are all of the warnings that it was taking as errors, but now it's ignoring it, and our website is now live. Right, so if you want to see what link we have, we just have to go on this link, or I can actually go to my domain settings and I can just change my site name, and it's going to change my domain as well. So I'm just going to say Airbnb clone Avi and save this. So this name is not taken, and if I visit Airbnb clone avi.netlify.app, I will be able to see my Airbnb clone. Right, and as you can see, this works. Everything is working. It is responsive, right? The way we intended it to be. And yeah, so we are getting there now. Correct. Perfect. So now you can actually visit this link and you'll be able to see the website and whatever we have coded so far. It was that simple to host it. All right, so we are done with that as well. All right. So now if we talk about what all is left and what all we could not cover because of obviously time constraints in this slide, that is simply not a lot of things are left. All the major structure is done, right? Something that we missed out is definitely on the modal that I wanted to implement. And the way to do that is very simple, right? We would be making a use effect which pops up this modal, and this modal is nothing but it is just a div, right? It has been positioned absolute. It has a really high z index, right? The background is slightly dark, right? So we basically have given it a background color of, let's say, black, but we have reduced the opacity so that we can see what's behind as well. Right, then we have a div centered to the screen, and that div is again a normal div. It just has a video player, it has headings, and that's it. Right, it has this cross button. So whenever we click on this cross button, there will be a flag, there will be a use state which we turn into false, and that's how this particular modal goes away. If you want to see how modal works, you can just Google how to make a modal in CSS, right? And W3 Schools has a really good documentation on that, right? And again, you just have to copy all of the styling, right? Instead of display none, we'll be making display as blocked, or display block whenever we click on the modal or whenever the use effect runs. And that's how we see the modal, right? So we can click on open modal and this opens the modal. Similarly, right? It has a background of black and there's an opacity, right? If I increase this value and run it again, it becomes darker. If I decrease this value and make it 0.2, it becomes lighter. Right, so then we just have to style this according to our needs. Correct. So that is how I would have implemented the modal. Something that is now left is the fact that on clicking of these things, we are filtering new cards. Now, how do we do that? So we are already storing this in an ID, right? So the only thing is we need to get this ID outside of that entire use effect. And in fact, this is something that we can implement. Okay. So let me go to my filter, and instead of having this use state over here, I'm going to pass it as a prop. So I'm going to say selected filter, and I'm going to say set selected filter, right? In my app.js, I'm going to make this use state. I'm going to pass both of these values in my filter component. Exactly. And as you can see, my code is still going to work now, right? My code is still going to work. Now the only thing is, and by default, I'll be making this as 0. Okay. Yeah. So now the only thing is, on changing of these filters, I want to change my cards as well, right? So now over here, what I'll do is, instead of passing this list like this, I'm going to pass it through here, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my app.js. I'm going to have my list over here as my list, right? And I'm just going to import it. So again, my code works just the same way, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make multiple lists. So just list, right? What I'll do is I'll make a list 2 as well, right? So I'll have a list 2. And the way we are going to differentiate is list 2 will have hotel 000 as its first item, right? And it's going to have this, right? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say in my app.js, I'm going to do a simple function. I'm just going to say selected filter, right? And I'm going to say selected filter equal to if it's equal to 0, right? This is what I want to show. Otherwise, I want to show this cards list, and this time list will be list 2, right? And I'll be including list 2 from my assets as well. Right, so this is not the ideal way to do it, but this is again not how we would have done it, but the whole point was that on changing this filter, my list should change. And as you can see, as soon as I click on this, my hotel, uh, what do you say? My hotel 1 changes from hotel 000. So that means that this is now list 2, which is being shown on my screen, and it is not list 1, right? A better example of that would be the fact that I can just, in my list 2, I cannot have so many elements, and I'm just going to have 2 3 elements, right? I'll get rid of this as well. So my list 2 has way more less elements, right? So this is my list 1, this is my list 2. So as you can see, my lists are also now dynamic, right? So similarly, I can make a lot of lists. I could have a lot of data. I could make filter functions and filter those lists with those use states, right? What is this K? I don't get it. So I am guessing you're asking me about the key. Do you mean the key? Sort of. Right. So key is the index basically. Or so what we basically did was we took out all of our use states, and we kind of had them inside our app.js so that we can control the entire page. Now we're passing our variables according to this use state, right? So now on clicking of this, we are technically changing our list, right? And this is again not the ideal way, but you could add a filter function maybe, or you could just add, what do you say? Yeah, or something that you could also do is, instead of having a structure like this, I could have an array of lists, right? So right now this contains just objects, right? I could have an array of list which has list 1, list 2, list 3, list 4, list 5, and then I could just filter it accordingly. If selected filter is 0, I could get the 0th item, right? If it is 1, I could get the 1th, what do you say, the list at the first place, right? Or the list at the 0th place, and so on. right? So I hope I was able to explain this logic to you guys as well. So now, since our use state is outside, we can easily change our lists too, right? So we are doing that as well now, right? So now something which just remains is the fact that we did not add this feature modal. This is again, we would have done it the same way. We would have added our the modal that we get on the starting of the screen. And if you want to really know how to do those, you can just Google how to make modals in React. Right, it is a really simple code. All you have to do is basically make a use state to handle if the modal is being shown or not, and accordingly that's it. So you will make a modal prop and you'll be making a use state, right? And basically on clicking on this, you'll be using yeah, you'll be using a use state to trigger it. So if it's true, you're going to show the modal. If it's false, you're not going to show the modal, and that's about it, right? So again, whatever you need to know, need to learn and implement is something that you can easily Google. And that was again the entire point of this series, right? Airbnb is literally built on React. So we are using the same technology to do so. All we need is obviously a little more time to be able to replicate it exactly the way we want to. Right. So I think with that we can conclude our today's session. And again, it we did cover a lot. We started with the header. We made sure that our header was responsive. We added a bottom navigation tab accordingly. We added a menu like this accordingly, and which we styled too, right? Then we added our flex over here, and we added a state to kind of change these as well. Then we also added this entire these cards which we have kind of displayed properly. These are responsive. We added our swiper.js. We made sure that we are passing all of our data using props, right? So our entire website is responsive and is somewhat functional. But again, the entire point of this entire session was to be able to kind of help you guys understand and um, build websites using React. And that was the primary goal. Right. So I think we can end our session. So all of those of you who are watching, congratulations, you've made it to the end. And thank you so much for giving me your time. It means a lot, right? And yeah, I hope to see you guys again soon. And let's make something else soon. Right? Perfect. So I think let's end the session now.